right, everybody. Cole here from Aggressor Adventures. I hope everyone's doing good today. Thanks for joining us for episode 6 of our Zoom into Adventure series. Today we have the pleasure of hosting Aaron Lerman, who is our new owner of the Philippines Aggressor, and also Aggressor Adventure CEO Wayne Brown is going to tell us a little bit about this exciting new itinerary and boat that we have that we are over the moon excited about. So here's a little background on Aaron. So Aaron received his Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering from Columbia University School of Engineering and Applied Sciences in New York City in 1997, and eventually joined his family's steel services center business. Aaron's diving career began with receiving his open water certification while in college. Following a 2-week dive trip from the Philippines in 2017, Aaron realized that the Philippines could be the perfect destination to start a liveaboard. Aaron built the new Philippines Aggressor with his Egyptian partner, Bassem, on the banks of the Nile River from the ground up. The new yacht arrived in mid-April to its new home port in the Philippines. Right now, Aaron's entire staff is standing by in the Philippines and excited to finally begin operating the brand new Philippines Aggressor yacht. All right, so I'm going to get these last few folks in here. And Aaron, what are you guys doing today?
Sorry, I didn't hear something. I didn't hear you, Cole.
How are you guys doing today, Aaron?
Okay, good, great.
So, Aaron, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into
you want me headphones?
architect?
Okay.
Sure, yeah. So, as you had said there, I graduated college in '97. Went to work as an engineer for a few years, and then eventually joined my family's steel businesses in engineering, and then eventually into the commercial side. So as a kid, diving and the oceans and the natural world has always been something I've always been fascinated with. And it wasn't until about 2016, actually, even though I got my open water certification in college, I didn't really use it that much till 2016 on a trip to Bonaire, and then I got hit by the whole diving thing at that point. It was 2017, as you had said, that I went to the Philippines for about a 2.5-week trip. And that's when I really started to contemplate getting into the business and come up with a way to, look at different possible ways of getting into the business. And eventually, somebody had suggested liveaboards, and liveaboards is actually something that's perfect for me because with my engineering background and also my interest, that's something that really struck me, and at that point I was really motivated to get this thing going.
Awesome.
So that's pretty much.
We are very excited to have you. Wayne, would you like to add to that comment?
Yeah, so thanks everybody for jumping on here with Aaron and myself. And what's going to happen is I've got a PowerPoint on the destination that I'm going to share my screen with so everybody can see it. And then Aaron and I will go through the different slides and itineraries and information about the destination. And obviously, Cole had said, make sure you ask him any questions during the presentation, and he'll jump back on and ask us so we can answer them. And then at the end, we'll have another question wrap-up session for you. So I'm going to start sharing my screen here for you. All right. Does that look correct, Cole?
It does.
Okay. All right. So again, welcome everybody to the Philippines Aggressor and the Republic of the Philippines. So a little bit about the Philippines. It's an island nation. It's the 5th largest island nation, and has about 7,600 islands that make it up. And as you can see with my cursor here, it sits just above Borneo, to the side of Vietnam and China. This is Taiwan, and Japan is up here. And then out here you have Palau and Guam on the way over to Hawaii. So right in the middle of the Coral Triangle. This is the yacht itself, and I'll let Aaron tell you a little bit about the construction of it from the ground up in Egypt.
Yeah, so as I had said, like that you know, liveaboards was something that really struck me as a perfect perfect way for me to get into this business. And so what had happened was I started researching into possible vessels, looking at looking at available vessels on the market, and then talking to different builders. And I met with a particular builder in Egypt. His name is Bassem, who eventually became my business partner. And when we met in Egypt, and we really hit it off well. We're the same age. We have completely different backgrounds and upbringings, but we have a lot of similar outlooks. And it was a partnership that is proving to be a very successful thing. So we started this construction project in a town called Rashid, which is on the western branch of the Nile, just before it gets to the empties into the Mediterranean Sea. And it's a small town, but with a large shipyard. It's actually a beach with several different shipyards. It's a big fishing town, and it's also a place where they build and renovate vessels other than fishing vessels, also safari boats and liveaboard boats. So it was, I'd go there, and we would ride out there to that shipyard, and I was there every couple of weeks, maybe every 3 to 4 weeks, and participating in all of the construction. I was paying attention to everything, the welding and the structures, and it's been quite an experience, and it's really a great feeling to see that the ship now, especially seeing it on the first launch, and then eventually seeing it leave from Egypt and finally to arrive now in the Philippines after the 35-day journey. It's really a beautiful thing. And soon I'll be able to be there in person to actually, to join and to see it there. So.
Great, thanks, Aaron. And I have to tell you, I visited a couple of times over there to see the construction, and it was pretty impressive to see this massive yacht come to life from the ground up, just on the banks of the Nile. It was just what a great experience to see it come to life there. And a little sidebar on Rashid, where this is constructed. As in most of Egypt, there's always some history tied to it. So one of the trips up there, the driver we had asked if we'd like to go see where the Rosetta Stone was discovered. I had no idea that's where it was. So we drive through this little small town to an old fort that had been excavated, and went to the exact spot where they had found the original Rosetta Stone, which obviously decoded the hieroglyphics and allowed us to understand the Egyptian history. So pretty amazing place where this ship was built. All right, so here's the layout, I think. Here we go. So the ship has 4 decks. On the lower deck, down below, you obviously have the engine room and some staff quarters at the back. You have 4 staterooms down below.
There's 5.
I'm sorry, 5.
Yeah.
That's right. And another staff room up front. Then on the main deck, you have the swim platform, the dive deck, your restaurant, which we have some photos to show you a little bit later on. More staterooms here, and that also have access out to the bow. Then on the upper deck, you have an open air cocktail lounge on the back that's covered. Just a lounge to hang out with multiple TVs. These 3 staterooms on the upper deck are actually balcony suites. So each one of them comes with a little balcony you can walk out onto. The captain's rooms, the pilot house, and then obviously through this hallway you can get right to the pilot house and walk out onto this deck if you'd like to see it. And then the top sun deck is all open. It does have a cover on it, but it's got enough seating for everybody to have some al fresco dining, and then a bar at the front of it. And we have some photos of that also to show you.
Wait, we got some questions coming in already.
Okay, go ahead.
Was this boat designed to look similar to the Maldives and Oman Aggressors?
No, those 2 were built by Tariq Abbas, the same owner, and same design. So these were designed by Basim, and this one was designed by Basim and Aaron, based on what they wanted the layout to look like.
Okay, great. And Aaron, one other question here. Can the bedding in the staterooms be changed from twin to king? Can you move them together?
Yes. Yes, in most of the rooms they can. There are 3 of the rooms downstairs cannot. Those have. Actually, I'm sorry. All of the staterooms on the lower deck don't move, but 3 of those staterooms have a double bed. But on the main deck and the upper deck, they can. All of those 7 rooms can be either way, twin or king.
All right, so I'm going to show you some artist renderings only because the boat is in the Philippines, but with the quarantine there, they're not able to get to all the stores to pick up all their supplies to get the sheets and bedspreads and pillowcases, et cetera, to supply the yacht. So as soon as the quarantine is lifted, they'll be able to gather everything they've already put together to complete the yacht ready for charter. But anyway, this is what the staterooms will look like. On the main deck and the lower deck. This is your balcony suites. So you have, and most of the rooms have places for a couple chairs at the table. And this is a rendering of what the balcony suite would look like with access outside. This is, now these are actual pictures of the yacht. And again, that was just being readied to make the crossing from Egypt to the Philippines. So it wasn't, they obviously weren't magazine quality ready, but just to give you an idea of how large this yacht is. This is the dining room with the 2 tables, enough for everybody to gather around. This is, and this is all on the main deck. And then this is the dive deck outside the restaurant with the, you can see the large camera table there in the middle. And then behind the dive deck is the swim platform that will hold the Zodiacs while you're transitioning from dive sites. Okay, then we go up one deck. This is your lounge that I showed you earlier that's just hanging out. 2 large TVs on each side and plenty of seating to stretch out in. And these are actual pictures of the rooms that when they were getting ready to leave Egypt. And obviously you can see the bathrooms are all in-suite rooms, and the bathrooms have separate showers in each one of them. This is, you're going to be on the cocktail deck or the open air lounge behind that indoor lounge that will have plenty of furniture for everybody to hang out in the shade. And then this is the sun deck itself. You can see the entire top will have canvas over it for shading, and plenty of seating for everybody to dine out, and then the bar at the front of it, and back behind this is where the hot tub is. All right, so let's we're going to get into the Philippines itself and all the itineraries, and that's one benefit of this destination is all the different itineraries that you'll be able to choose from when the operations start up. So, Aaron, do you want to give them a little information about the different ways to fly into the Philippines?
Sure. Yeah. So typically, I mean, if it's a Tubataha trip, so you'd be, we would be leaving from Puerto Princesa, and unless it's a transition trip, it'll be both in and out from Puerto Princesa. From Puerto Princesa, you could either get a direct flight from Cebu or from Manila. It's easier from Manila. Manila has a lot more international options, especially coming from the U.S. So that's usually the easiest port of entry. Cebu is also now, especially now with Delta's moved their Japan hub to now focus more in Seoul. So it's a better connection now. You can get Korean Air into Cebu also, which is a newer thing. So typically Manila is always the easiest, but now Cebu is also becoming easier for international access, and they have a beautiful new international terminal there as well, which is just about 2 years old.
I've actually got a charter July 11th, which we're hoping that it still happens, but it's out of Cebu, and I actually have a flight from Atlanta to Seoul and Seoul to Cebu, so pretty easy transition to that destination from the U.S.
And then also there are the couple of trips where we go in and out, where we start in Cebu and end in Dumaguete, or start in Dumaguete and end in Cebu. And for Dumaguete, it's a quick flight from either Cebu or from Manila, so it's pretty easy access.
All right, and so we're going to get into the itineraries. So this is Tubataha. So if you look here, you'll see the Puerto Princesa, and this is the Tubataha islands and reefs. So it's overnight crossing. You would leave late in the evening on to start the charter and be able to be diving early the next morning in Tubataha. And these are some of the dive sites that we will visit, including some wrecks. And very, very common over here to see everything that Philippines has to offer, from whale sharks to the occasional hammerheads, reef sharks, tiger sharks, and of course, everything down to all the macro that Philippines is very well known for. This itinerary is only mid-March to mid-June, and that's just because of the monsoon season that is going on over there. And if you've been watching the weather in that part of the world, they actually have one going through there this week. So that's why you have to pull out at certain times from the Cebu area. All right, so this is one of the Cebu itineraries. So this one is called Central Visayas, and it's either 7 days or 10 days. So you can see with the yellow lines, the 7-day trip. And if you take the 10-day, it adds the northern up to Gato Island. And in this area up here, it's about 90% certain that you'll see thresher sharks. So as much as I've been diving around the world, I've never gotten to see one. So I'm excited to take an itinerary that includes that area, so I can check that off my list.
Yes, that's the Monad Shoal dive site at Malapascua.
Great.
And also over there, Gato Island is another highlight, just to add that there's a 30-meter tunnel actually that goes through the island, one side to the other. But it's an interesting type of a tunnel. The light on the entry side will disappear just as the light on the other side comes through. And there also you'll see a lot of the typical animals that like to hide in the caves, and near the exit there's usually also some white tips that like to hang out there, so that's always a nice dive too.
All right, so this is the Visayas North itinerary. It's 7 days that they all leave out of the same port there in Cebu. Then this is the south and then reverse. So depending on which one you want, you'll leave out of Cebu and end in Dumaguete, or you'll start in Dumaguete and end back in Cebu. So you just have to be cognizant of which itinerary you're on so that you fly into the correct airports. And then this is the 360 tour, which I'm actually scheduled on in July. So it circles Cebu, and then if you're on the 10-day, it adds a little piece down to Apo Island in the south. And let's see. While we're on this itinerary, there is areas over here to the right. Aaron, you want to talk about the whale sharks that they encounter naturally over there?
Oh yeah, sure. So actually, if you back up to the, yeah, there you go. So the Limasawa area, Sagod Bay, over there also is a whale shark area, and the way that it works over there is they have, you know, the locals over there that pretty much know where they are. They all the liveaboards, that's how you do it. So you'll hook up with the hook up with the local guides there, and they you know, they know exactly where they are. So it's also a very good, you know, nothing is guaranteed, but it's also a very very high probability of seeing whale sharks there.
Okay.
All right, guys, we got some questions coming in on these itineraries. Are any of these itineraries offered for snorkelers?
So yes, I would say most of them have where snorkelers could also participate. There are, you know, somebody had asked me this actually at DEMA, and you know, I'm gonna have to, we'll put something on the website that'll give because at this point I don't remember, but I did some research into which routes are the best for snorkeling. So we will add that to the website. I just have to go and find that information.
Okay.
What are the water temp visibility like on these areas?
Yeah, so the visibility is it's very good visibility. Usually, it's you know, you can have up to it's like 30 meters, where, you know, 30 to 35 meters. So, but it also depends on the season, and it depends on you know, the particular conditions even of the day. So, but during the time that during the entire trip, there will always be some, you know, even if there are weather issues, you always have several dives that have good visibility too, and especially in Tubataha, that's always.
And what about the water temperature, Aaron?
Yeah, so the water temperature also is about 78 to 82 is I think that's the most common range. And we have, you know, 3 millimeter wetsuits are what typically people use there. I mean, you always have also the people that are wearing the shorties, but yeah, 3 millimeters is the most common.
Great.
And Wayne, if you wouldn't mind going back to the boat layout, we got a couple questions there. Are there any sunbathing areas on the boat?
Yeah, so actually the very back of the, there's the open air lounge on the upper deck. At the very back of it, it's covered mostly, but there's it's about 2/3 of it is covered and then part of it is uncovered. And then on the sun deck, we have the ability to move the, you know, the awning there,
Yeah.
to either cover it or uncover it. It's
okay. Okay. And Wayne, would you touch on fire safety and evacuations aboard this vessel?
Absolutely. So if you watch my cursor here, I'll start down at the lower staterooms. And Aaron and Basim designed this with all doored evacuation routes. So there's no hatches that you have to open and climb up through. So obviously the first one would be the main stairs here that you would come down. You can also go either forward or after that. So if you went aft, you would come up this evacuation stairwell here that comes up right here beside the galley up in the restaurant. Or you can go out these stairs here. They go up to a door that leads out onto the bow. So you can either evacuate any three of those from the lower level. On the main deck, obviously you can either go, you know, back out to the dive deck, or you can go out the door, same door you would come up these steps with, and go out onto the bow. And then the pilot house again, you can go straight out the back, or you can come, on the upper deck, straight out the back, or through the pilot house and out either door onto the bow. And then obviously the sun deck is where the life rafts are at. So plenty of ways, especially on the lower level here. Any one of those three will work to evacuate the lower level.
Very great. And one more before I let you guys get back to the presentation. Is all the diving done from the Zodiacs? And if so, does the dive gear stay on the Zodiacs in between dives?
So it is all done from the Zodiacs. That's one of the things actually that we were just discussing. Wayne had some ideas on that. When there are a couple different possibilities of how to do it, but none of the Zodiac rides are more than 5 to 7 minutes. So we have some options there as far as how we're gonna run it.
Okay. All right. Then the last itinerary we'll review is actually the transition itinerary. So when the yacht moves between the Tubataha itinerary and the Cebu itinerary, you have the option of joining it for either when it starts or ends that season. So you would leave if you're starting it in for Tubataha, you would start in Palawan, Puerto Princesa, go through Tubataha, and then dive all the way over to Cebu. And then obviously when the season starts, you would reverse that from Cebu over to Puerto Princesa. And it's this is an 11-day transition itinerary. Okay. All right, so let's show you some of the reasons that we're going over there, and then you would be diving. So again, it's got everything from some amazing macro to large schools of fish and pelagics. So they have several species of pygmy seahorses, lots of schooling fish, and then of course mantas, and in between all that, some beautiful soft corals and sea fans. They also have obviously the unusual. So we've got snake eels, frogfish, all types of little crabs and shrimps that you can find.
While you're showing the frogfish there, just actually on my last trip over there, I went out with Mitch, our cruise director. We did some diving in Mobile, which is actually, it's one of the places on the 360 tour, and I saw something that I had never seen before. We saw a giant frogfish, and then Mitch kept going at first, and then I saw him. He looked like he was moving a little, and I thought, okay, maybe he's going to eat. I've never seen them eat. But he actually started just moving along even more. And then there was another one that was maybe 1.5 times his size, and they were just starting some sort of mating ritual that something I'd never seen before. And of course, I don't usually bring a camera with me, actually. I'm one of the 1% of people that doesn't bring a camera, but actually Mitch's camera broke. So I guess maybe we never really saw it.
Great. And for octopus, they have the wonder puss. They have the blue ring. They also have on the right there, you can see it's called a poison ocelot octopus. That's in the family of the blue ring. But it just has 2 blue ring spots, one under each eye on each side. And it's about 8 inches. So obviously much, much bigger than the blue ring octopus. And then for you macro lovers, again, lots of nudibranchs, shrimps, crabs, and flamboyant cuttlefish. If you haven't seen one, the way the colors wave back and forth through their body is pretty amazing. Again, all the tropical ring of fire shrimps and crabs. Again, big schools of fish, lots of soft corals hanging off all the overhangs around the islands. This is the thresher shark. If you haven't seen one, this is what you'll see if you head up to that itinerary in the north. And of course, everybody loves the whale shark. So if you haven't seen a whale shark, this is going to be a great place for you to encounter them naturally, that where Aaron was describing. And again, the locals, watch out for them, and they'll let the liveaboards know if they encounter one, so that our guests can go over there and see them. And I do have a 1-minute video, promo video that Cole put together to launch the destination that I'd like to show you. It might come across a little choppy depending on your connection, but you'll still get to see the thrill of the destination.
Yeah, so this video was actually put together by our dive pro.
All right, so we appreciate everybody joining us. And Cole, do we have some more questions that we can answer for everybody?
Yes, we do. And I didn't have any audio on that, so I was a little sad. But you guys can check out that video on the Philippines Aggressor destination page. We must have had a little mix up there. But yeah,
I should have said that was created by our photo pro, the actual photo pro that we're using. So.
Yeah, let me ask you, Aaron, because one of the questions there relates. Do you have any locals that will be working on the boat, and also what will the crew to diver ratio be?
Yeah, so because of the way that it is in the Philippines, ratio is actually very high. We have a lot of staff per diver, so we have a crew of 18, and our max capacity for passengers is 24 for guests. So the ratio is pretty high, and yes, it is all locals actually.
Okay, great.
Yeah, the entire staff.
we got a lot of questions coming in about night diving. Can you guys talk a little bit about that? How often will night diving be
So
offered?
the only place where night diving is not allowed is Tubataha. You do, and that I've heard different explanations for that, but one of them is having to do with tiger sharks, and that's when it may not be so safe at that point because that's already when it's getting dark. But all the other locations, there are night dives, and there are, there's also sunset dives. Like there are a couple locations actually where the mandarin fish are. You can have that sunset dive to see the mandarin fish. That's actually mobile. I saw that in also Dumaguete area down, you can see that. And actually even also Malapascua. So yeah, there are several locations that have good night dives.
And as is all the aggressor boats, we will be offering nitrox. That's being asked. We
Yep.
also having questions on the depth of these.
Yeah, so it's all depths. It's I mean the range is it's everything. So I don't know exactly which ones are, but all the itineraries will have all different depths.
Will there be any blackwater dives?
So I'm not sure. Probably there will. It could be. I mean, it'll be either a night dive. It'll either be a blackwater dive or a sunset dive on 2 or 3 of the days. So, I mean, the answer is usually yes.
Okay. Are drones allowed?
So not in Tubataha without a special permit, which actually we have to get. If you know you want to bring it, you can ask us and we can look into that. It may be possible to get a permit for somebody, but Tubataha is particular like that. You can't just bring it. The other locations, I have to check again with the Photo Pro, but I'm pretty sure for the other locations are fine.
Okay. We're also getting some questions on wrecks. Are there going to be any World War II military wrecks?
So not really. Those wrecks are more in the northern areas like Corona, and those are actually nice add-on things that if you want to do diving in other parts of the country that are not typically the liveaboard area, please inquire about that, and we can try to set up something in combination with a local resort if you want to see some of that stuff. Like Subic Bay, for example, which is it's an independent area. It's a little north of Manila. That's where you'll see a lot of wrecks, also Corona or Subic.
Does the dive tenders, the Zodiacs, they have ladders to get back in the tenders?
Yes, we have the because of our connection with Aggressor, because we're aggressors, so we actually have incorporated what they've come up with as best practice in the methods of loading the Zodiacs, and so the ladder is built according to the spec that they've come up with.
Okay. What about currents? Do you happen to see any currents here on any of these routes?
So yeah, there are some dives that could end up being drift dives, that are drift dives, but there may be some that depending on the time, there may be some that would be the type that you would use a reef hook, although that would not be the case again in Tubataha where they're not allowed. But there is some current, but it's not, typically will not be an intense current. I mean, that's actually part of why Tubataha only has a certain season, is also the currents. So yeah, so when we're there, the currents are manageable.
Okay. I think we got a few more here. Any thoughts about social distancing, Wayne, and other maneuvers due to the ongoing issues with the pandemic?
Yeah, happy to speak to that. So we have obviously are putting in place some new procedures for in between charters, fogging and sanitizing the entire yachts and destinations and staterooms, and using not only chemical foggers, but using UV lights and ozones in each of the rooms. They show a recommendation of 15 minutes in each room to help kill anything that the chemical fogging doesn't. We'll also be, during the charter, eliminating buffets, sanitizing, high touch areas like doorknobs and counters. We'll have handheld blue lights, UV lights, that we can run over everybody's phones and tablets and MacBooks and laptops and keyboards when they come on. We will be taking temperatures before people come on. We have a lot of the destinations already have UV lights in the air conditioning systems. That's been around for a while. The ones that don't, we'll be adding those so that we're not recirculating any potential issues. Social distancing obviously is an issue. I mean, we can't, there's no way to keep 6 foot apart from everybody. If we do have somebody that starts feeling ill during a charter, we'll isolate them as best as possible. If there's a spare room, we'll put them in there and have all the meals brought down to them, and until we can get local medical to check them out and see what they think. We'll try to spread out everybody as much as possible for meals and on the dive deck, but the WHO actually recommends 3 feet. The CDC recommends 6. So obviously there's somewhere in between there is a good balance, but it's just not going to be possible, especially when you get in the Zodiacs to go out. So we're hoping all of our sanitation efforts and disinfecting will keep anybody from contracting anything when they're on board, and with asking everybody to not even come to the destination or come on board if they don't feel well, and taking temperatures, and we can halt anybody from getting sick while they're on board. Great.
And Wayne, is there any availability on your Dive with the Owner trip, and when is that trip?
It's July 11th. I don't know. I haven't looked at it in the last couple of weeks to see if there was any availability.
And do we have a predicted maiden voyage date? It's hard to say. We know.
Right. So, yeah. So, our best estimate is, from the time that the quarantine restrictions are lifted or loosened to the point where we can finish up with our registration and getting the rest of the outfitting supplies from the local locations there. We're figuring 30 days from that point. So obviously when we know, we'll update, but at this point we still don't know for sure when that will be.
Yeah, the current restriction is through the end of this month for limited movement within the country.
Okay, and Wayne, we got a question here. Are you still renting equipment during the pandemic? Of course, none of our charters are running right as of now, but can you talk a little bit about the steps that the crew have been doing to take care of all the rental gear and equipment?
Yep. So there's a chemical called stearamine that is used pretty heavily in a lot of industries for sterilizing equipment. So all the destinations have already put all their rental gear through that, and we'll obviously use that at the end of when any gear is turned in to re-sterilize it. And we're getting rid of mask rinse buckets and gear rinse buckets and containers, so that there's no cross contamination of that with that gear either.
Okay, great. And I want to give a shout out to my coworkers, Lisa and Jen, who said there is availability on your charter. They looked that up real quick for us.
Great.
Okay, let's see. Last couple coming in. Maybe Wayne could touch on the tanks that are forced air and there's no risk of contamination.
Well, if you're talking about the tanks that are filled from the compressor, I mean, the way the air is filtered through the multiple filters, there would be there's no way for any contamination to get in there.
Right. Okay. Great. And
Also,
we have another good one here from Sharon. Can you describe the charging station capabilities? Can guests charge in their room?
Well, obviously, if you're there, you're welcome to charge. But the fleet policy changed last year that if you're not, if it's inside and it's not being watched, that it'll be unplugged by the staff. If it's outside in the charging stations, then that's fine, except for overnight. So even if you're charging outside, the night watch will unplug anything that is currently charging.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's about wraps it up, guys. Do you have any last things you want to say, or one last big old pitch for Philippines Aggressor?
Well, appreciate everybody, spending the time with us, and obviously, you have access to any of the staff or myself if you want to email or call and ask more questions about the destination. And we hope the Philippines, with every other destination, comes back online soon.
Yeah.
All right. That's going to wrap it up from us, guys. Let me read real quickly our upcoming Zoom calls. We are adding some more that have not been added to our Zoom page yet on our website. But on the 19th, we have the operations team. It's Tuesday coming up, talking about ship shape and ready for your next adventure. Talking about all the things that they've done with our CRS initiative. On the 21st, a week from today, we have Samantha Whitcraft talking about the ish of fish and how to identify any fish you see. On the 26th, we'll be speaking with someone from Patty. We're getting all those details ironed out right now. And on the 27th, the Wednesday call, we will be talking with Scott Arney from Palau. So that's it for now, guys. We appreciate everybody for coming by, and we hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.